Peace, 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 and welcome to the Origins of Om podcast. I'm your host, Om Maya, and today we are going right into the principles of polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degrees. Extremes meet, all truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. Let's get into it. I believe this recording has been a long time coming. I'd say I've been placed on pause with my recording just because I needed to go through a major shift in the last week, and I am so grateful for the awareness and the opportunity to really be able to do the work within myself and share that work with others, because no matter how much I transcend a lot of life's experiences and overcome certain things, and I'm able to share and teach, I still must go through certain things physically or, mentally in order to know what it feels like to experience what others, experience, and then be able to articulate that and express that in a way where they can come out of it. So I'm going to share something with you all that showed up this last week. Being that I'm from Houston, okay? Need I say more? The weather is always hot. We get somewhat of a winter, maybe for a good 3 weeks-ish, but it's always up and down, shifty. And so I'm used to the hot sun along with humidity, right? Yet, as we all are aware, this is a different type of experience we're having with the sun right now. There's a lot of flares happening, so there's a lot of external, quote unquote, heat coming from the sun, and there's also the internal fire of the solar plexus that is spiking up. And with that fire in the solar plexus spiking up right now, it's activating the heart, the throat, and the third eye, and you feel these tingling sensations. You can feel these impulses and all types of things going on in the body. So for me, I was, and my memory, of it is just still a little off, just because I'm like, wow, that was amazing. I was at the pool on last Monday with the children, and I got in, had a good time with the sun and the water and all that fun stuff. And then that following day, my body just wanted to rest. I got up as usual, but I felt like I was drunk, like my like a hangover or something. My veins, I could feel the blood pulsing through my arms, and, my, just everything was pulsating, and I could feel like my body was what you would call fatigue, right? And so when I went to make my morning smoothie, I suddenly just didn't feel the urge to want to really stand up for too long. And this was one of the days here in Oregon where it's pretty dry heat, and where we're at, the units they only have heaters. They don't have AC. And according to a lot of the residents here, they're like, this is abnormal. We've had this for like 3 years already. We've had it in the high, I think 115. And this day it was like 100 degrees, and that sun felt scorching hot. Like, I love that I have a cat because I get to witness how she moves energetically. She's in tune with energy, right? So if the sun is way too hot, she's not even going and sitting in it. Like, she's avoiding any spot where the sun is. And most of the time she just flopped and laid down. So I knew that we were going through a major shift. I can even feel like, things were spinning a little faster just off of how time was moving, how the sun was moving that day. Everything was just intense. So, long story short, I ended up spending like 24 hours in bed. When I would get up to even just go to use the restroom, I felt like I ran a marathon. Like my entire being was just, it was tired. I needed to rest. And I didn't even really feel like talking. It was like to talk was a lot of energy and a lot of work. And so, just witnessing and observing what was happening in me, I became more in tune with where things were turning on in my body, and I wasn't aware of what that was for me, right? So, instead of what this topic is about, polarity, instead of me going into something that is negative off the bat and saying, oh, it's whatever medical term this is, or something's happening to me, I feel like I'm dying, right? I went into, oh, this is one of those ascension channels I've had back in 2020. I'm aware of exactly what's happening right now. Maybe it's at a different level. And it was a shorter time span of experience than what I went through in 2020, because that was more of like a whole month of waking up to the fact that I needed to strengthen my temple, strengthen my body. Exercising is important to, build the heart rate up and to build the blood and to build, focus and just have an all around confident and comfortable process of living without trying to, have a fine, stack booty or anything like that. I don't really care about the physical image. I just want to feel all around healthy and resilient, right? And so one of the things that showed up for me was with the shift that is occurring consciously, physically, what was important was lining up with that. Mind, body, and spirit must be lined up. So it's little by little, you'll tap into the mindset of yourself and how to process your thoughts and how to operate in stillness, especially more so like in the mornings when you have that time to yourself. And then all the other things start to show up, like your physical, right? What are you putting in your body? Are you exercising? Are you strengthening your body? Are you strengthening your legs and your core and stuff? So anyway, Saturday, I usually get up and, we'll head out to Portland, which is like 20, 30 minutes from where I currently am staying. And we'll take the train and, just be on foot walking around, which I love because I'm used to driving all the time everywhere. So this is an opportunity for me to, just walk, right? Well, that took almost everything out of me. And I broke down. I was very disappointed in myself. And it was one of those moments where weakness made me angry. And I saw weakness as a form of defeat. I saw that, or according to my interpretation at the time, right? I was like, oh my gosh, I feel weak. I feel fatigued. I'm hot. I'm dehydrated. And I was doing all the things to keep myself acclimated, but that wasn't it. That wasn't enough. You know what I mean? So I remember my beloved, he was so patient with me, and he just, I would stop and I would take a minute. And I mean, my heart was just palpitating like it was insane. And I don't go on drift off into all that crap that, medical terms and all that, because of the fact that that is the one thing that has kept us here on this realm, constantly seeking other people's advice or approval or opinions about what's happening in my own body, right? And that's not something that I mean, just along my journey, I've come to realize that's not the way. That's not it. Remove those things. Listen to the voice within you. Trust your higher self, because that will guide you through life and through the things that are showing up inside of you, so that you may reflect that outside and then share with others so that they can free themselves. And so we we're heading back home, and just along that journey, I had moments of where I wanted to cry. I felt like it just took me back to 2020 for a minute. And I love that when you're going through periods of ascension, there's this reliving or remembering, right, of something very important that you were showed or taught at a time that was very detrimental to your future. And 2020 was that for me in so many wonderful, miraculous ways. I mean, I had the greatest time, yet I needed to see myself and how I am in my physical aspect of my body, right? And how I take care of that. Even though you might eat clean and do all that, exercise is another implement that you or thing that you want to implement in your life to tone or to keep, everything working properly, organs, blood, all that. And so it really helps with focus, and it really helps with confidence. And so I saw that, and I started to practice working out, but I wasn't consistent, of course, right? And Spirit is teaching consistency is the key. If you're good at being consistent in the spirit, I need you to be consistent in the physical as well. Like everything dances together, everything is orchestrated perfectly, and there's no like major effort or force that needs to occur. It's just the awareness around it and doing the work, right? And I remember when I got home, I was like, enough is enough. Like I'm gonna go just a little harder and allow myself to feel some form of pain, right? Because it's already painful when you ignore and avoid certain things in life. And this is just my dialogue that I had with myself. When you avoid certain things in life, like, oh, I don't want to go too hard on my body to where I could feel it, and then I'm sweating out of my pores, and then my heart is beating really fast. That feeling is a little uncomfortable. So once I get to where I feel it a little bit, I'm gonna back off. And it was like, go a little farther, because even in the physical practice, this helps me in my meditation with, instead of stopping at a point where I'm like, okay, I'm finally clear, relaxed, good, it's time for me to move on. No, it's like continue to go to the moment where you're like, oh, I think I reached my limit. Let me back up. And it's not to where I'm injuring myself, right? It's not to where I'm, pulling something. It's to wake something up in my body, and maybe it's in my glutes or in my feet or, wherever in my body that needs to wake up, so that when I'm done working out, right, my day, I'm aware of, is just all around holistic. Like I feel stronger, I'm grounded, I can focus, right? And then I see where I was holding myself back. Like I was avoiding going into things intensively. A lot of times when I'm reading, I notice when I'm reading about, getting one point minded and focus and, quiet in the mind, when it is spoken of about meditation, there's this word that always pops up, and it says intensive focus, intensive concentration. And so I notice a lot of times I look that word over, not really analyzing or just kind of being with that word and what that looks like. And so when I'm working out, right, I see where intensive focus and intensive breath is necessary, right? And that is where the word intensive starts to manifest in all things that show up in my life, right? So as I've started to work out more, I'm noticing that my body is acclimating to itself. And so there's no struggling when I'm walking, or if I'm in the sun, I'm not in my story about that either. Like, oh, be careful because you don't want to go too long because you're going to get tired. Like all that comes in, right? And the thing is do I want to entertain that, or am I going to let that go? And so I'm like, I don't know. My mind has become my friend. So when she starts to go on a rampage and starts going off about stuff, I'm like, all right, do your thing. I don't have to pay attention to that, right? I don't have to follow what you're talking about because I understand that that is a common thought process that most people experience, and they choose if they want to follow that thought or not. And I am always about overcoming and getting better, stronger, faster, all that. And just having a partner that is naturally physique. His physical aspect of himself is strong. His spiritual is strong. I mean, everything about him, he's focused. And, it inspires me to want to be in that same vibration, not left behind, slowed up. And then I have children. So then that becomes a realization around, like, I don't want to be this fragile mother that can't, take care of her children, can't play with them, can't be in the presence with them and enjoy them because I haven't taken out the time to really build my strength up. I'm flexible, I can do certain movements in my body and stuff. It's no problem. But it's the strengthening that needs to happen. And that's something that has really slowed down since I've had my twins. And that's been 10 years ago that I haven't really gone too hard in the gym like that. You know what I mean? And so even though I'm still doing my morning practices and things, like I said, I'm always trying to do the minimum and play it safe. But life is not coming at you playing it safe. Life is coming at you with all of the things. Whatever planet Earth needs to do in order to take care of itself is going to do that. And that means no one is exempt from what's to come, whether it's floods or storms or hurricanes and volcano eruptions and whatever. All must go through a moment in time where they're being challenged with their faith and their journey in life and why they're here and what they're supposed to be called to do. And my thing is I say to myself all the time, there's no such thing as death, so I can't die. So then what would it hurt to push my body a little past ooh, right? Because I say when I'm working out, I'm like, ooh. And I'm like, all right, let me stop. Not ouch. Ooh, like I can feel something turning on and I'm starting to sweat and my heart rate is starting to pick up. That's when I need to push more, right? And so when these last couple of days I've been going to the gym and just getting back in my flow, and it's so interesting how when I shifted my mindset from, and again, we're still on the topic of polarity in this way, because I could have seen this as something detrimental and called a doctor or whatever story to build up on because something's wrong and this isn't normal, or being tapped into the spirit, seeing what it really is, doing what spirit is like pulling at me to do, with the awareness around something that showed up that happened to me 2 years ago. You get what I'm saying? And instead of me building this story up about it like, oh, it's the same thing and this is what it means. No, I'm in a different mindset, a different channel, a different frequency now. So the station that I'm tuned into is at a station that's higher than an average person that's, constantly in their thoughts trying to figure out something that's going on in their body and resulting into something negative, right? So what happened these last couple of days really showed me that I am choosing this, period. And I am choosing how I want to see this. And when I'm working out now, and I'm operating in my physical body is not limited either, just like my spirit man isn't. None of the bodies are limited unless I make them limited, unless I create those boundaries, right? And boundaries are not bad, but what happens is too much of anything would cause a reaction, whether, it's a negative or a positive one. When I realized what was happening all around, and then I had a moment in meditation where I was just, asking my spirit guides, what was that? And why was I going through that, right? Of course, it was like very clear, very clear to me. Why not? You you are a living example of someone who takes life and what is thrown at them and make it your own. And how can that help other people? How can that give others the opportunity to go within themselves and play around with the possibility that maybe it's not this terrifying, intensive, crazy, event happening on the outside, right? But what's going on internally? That's what it is. And maybe the fire's turned up. What happened was when I felt the fatigue aspect of my legs and my arms and my heart, my head, everything was just in the state of what I was thinking in my normal mindset of, oh, this is a form of the weakness. I was really being strengthened, activated, turned on. I could feel the nerves throughout my body. I could feel the blood pulsating through my body. I could feel my heart pulsating blood up to my crown. So I was becoming more aware and in tune, and my dreams were even becoming clearer. I was able to see more. So a lot of things were opening up for me. So instead of me seeing it as something that was, breaking down or something bad that was happening, I saw it for what it really truly was. And that was why my experience wasn't this long drawn out, great suffering. It was a 24-hour turnaround. And the other days were me getting back acclimated and practicing and pushing myself to do more, do more. You're not limited. Keep going a little more. Go a little more. Because even at the moment of, and I'm just throwing the word pain, but I'll find another word for that another time. But even to the point where, that feels like intense for me. I'll use intense, like, something's turning on in me, right? That's that moment right there where you come out of your thoughts of what that is and breathe right into it. Maybe your thigh is turned on and it's firing up now. Okay. Instead of going into the form of panic, I'm going to breathe right through it. And maybe it's not so pretty. Maybe the breath is real, right? As long as you are aware that when you are breathing into that part of your body that's now turned on, when you exhale, you're releasing whatever tension or toxin that has been blocking and holding your mindset back from the interpretation of something's wrong or something is limited or something is restricting, right? And then you open up possibility for more room to go a little further. I'm going to leave that there for today. And I know that in my heart, this is the time for us to really wake up to our ultimate power. It's time to get in harmony with ourselves, mind, body, spirit. Nothing is left behind. Nothing can be left behind because it creates more chaos. So if I can encourage anyone today, I want to encourage you to really take it easy on yourself mentally. Turn the things that no longer serve you off. Tune those things out. Start putting more positive, good things into your life, whether it's in music, in what you're witnessing and watching, the people that you serve or that you're around. And don't create a sense of this story of hate or love, because neither one of those things really exist, right? There's just this beauty that's unfolding in front of you, and the forms of which they come, whether in your eyes is beautiful and pleasing or not beautiful and pleasing, one of the things I've learned that is very important is to find the beauty in all things. And so when you start going into, but how, and how am I supposed to find this, and da 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 da, well, now you're going into logic and reasoning, and that doesn't exist in the spirit. That can't really open you to truth when you're trying to break it down and articulate it from the ego aspect. So that person has to learn to take a back seat and be a witness to the unfoldment, because that creates more distractions and it creates chaos, because now you're trying to understand the polar opposites of things. Well, if this is, if this is hot and this is cold, you know, then I need to choose more of this cold because the hot just makes me uncomfortable. Well, so does the cold. And so when you see that neither one of these aspects are really supportive in your decision making, you become more accepted to things as they come. Hot, cold, right, wrong, good, bad, pretty, ugly, whatever. You get out of these concepts of choosing and you just be with it all. Because in one form or aspect, to others, you're this beautiful, supportive friend, caring friend or daughter or whatever. And in the eyes of someone else, you could be a total douchebag, or you're fake or you're weird or whatever aspect of, interpretation people want to take on. It doesn't matter. And for me, I'm open to being whatever, because I've practiced the art of stalking and I've practiced the art of looking bad. And it's not about looking bad, right? Like, oh, you look bad. Ooh, what's wrong with you? It's about being so open and transparent that I'm not worried about what others think of me. And if you want to take that and make it, a meaning for you, that's up to you. Cool. I don't care. Because when we look at life, we can choose to perceive it as this beautiful gift from heaven, and the kingdom of heaven lives here and it's been here all this time. Or we can look at it as hell and demon possessed and just ghetto, right? Like we always say. We could look at it in all these other ways. I choose to see it as it all comes to me, and it's all beautiful and it is all perfect, because what's happening inside of me is way more beautiful and blissful and amazing than whatever the world is trying to project or portray to my vision. I go off of the vision within, not the vision outside of me. Television can't tell me my vision. So television can say what it wants to say, but I'm going to give it the vision that it is, because I know that now I'm not easily influenced or easily programmed by the messages that are being projected to me, because I know who I am within. It's been an honor and a pleasure speaking with you today. Keep in mind, I have extended my one-on-one session until August 11th. You're welcome to sign up. It's 20% off, so it's $108. Hit my line or email me, whichever. Hit my IG up, however you want to connect. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Until next time, later.